Let's move on to the next game that we saw in developer_direct 2025, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which, we kind of enjoy seeing developers arrive with something that looks completely different to anything we've seen before in the past. We've got the sort of JRPG vibes to it, but the execution, the presentation just looked absolutely fantastic, I thought. And it was great to get a view of their sort of studio ethos during the segment there. Alex, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this was, I've already seen Doom the Dark Ages, like that preview thing. And so this for me has been probably the most exciting thing I saw on the Direct, just because I don't see a lot of developers, pushing for non-real-time combat in large games. Usually that's why Baldur's Gate was actually, for me, a breath of fresh air. I really like non-real-time combat in games. And so I really like that. But I also... presentation, I think, was top-notch, minus some performance stuff that Oliver might want to touch on. But I want to say that it's interesting how I think like the whole JRPG-ness of this is put through like a different lens from a different developer from a different part of the world. And it's leading to some very unique designs. When they were like introducing all the characters, I was actually kind of interested in what this world was going to be saying and doing and all the weirdness of it, because it didn't look like some sort of straightforward storyline or straightforward, typical plot. It looked really odd, and I didn't know what things were. So I was actually invested in my brain while watching this trailer and developer direct. I was like trying to investigate it in my brain, okay, what is this object? What is this thing? What is this? What do these people actually do? And that's pretty rare for me when I watch game trailers, because they're usually overly straightforward. And so I was actually curious the entire time. And I definitely want to cover this one when it comes out. I think they mentioned it's this year release. I cannot remember. It is,
yeah. That was kind of like one of the big points of this particular presentation. Everything is happening this year. They've got a fantastic slate, Microsoft. There's just no doubt about it. It's really sort of coming together for them now. Yeah. Oliver, what do you think?
Yeah, it's April 24th of this year, so coming up pretty quick. Goodness. Along with Doom in May, so that's a pretty exciting slate, especially the first half of the year. Quite a few titles here, as well as South of Midnight, which we'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of the design, the game that obviously came to my mind is Persona a little bit, right, just because of the combat and the UI and the story, which kind of seems like you have this cast of characters who have their own little narratives with each other, as well as this broader overarching story, and then the use of non-human characters, and it kind of seemed like that, albeit much more French than Persona. Definitely different cultural influence for sure, which I think Alex was alluding to a little bit. I think it looks very, very pretty here. It is UE5. Characters, material, spells, everything looks great. I don't know what to say. It looks quite UE5-ish, but it also looks, I think, very, very beautiful here. The only exception to that would be some pretty hard frame rate drops in certain moments, especially with spells. Looks a little bit unstable at this early stage. I would guess the target would be 30 FPS on consoles, but there's a mix of footage here, because some of it is like 60 FPS-ish with drops. Some of it is like 30 FPS-ish with drops. It's kind of a bit of a variable frame rate range there. So I hope they haven't pushed UE5 too hard for consoles here, or for PC also, obviously, because it does seem like a game that's not that far away, and the performance level is not 100% where I'd like it to be. But at the same time, it is a turn-based game, so if they just get it to like a reasonably stable 30 FPS, I think that's probably okay. For a game that looks this good, I think that's probably all right. So yeah, just something to look out for here. A lot of the games here had like a little bit of a not perfect performance level. This is also the case with Ninja Gaiden 4 and a number of other titles. Yeah. South of Midnight had some issues as well. So I wouldn't expect this necessarily to be like final production polish, obviously, but just something to note for now.
Yeah, I just like the segment that they had on the show there, which was, essentially showing the individuality and the independent nature of the studio, and it's reflected in the game. But the game itself definitely seems to have full-on AAA production values to it. It's quite remarkable to see that 4 years of hard work coming together there. So really looking forward to seeing the end product, which is not so far away.